It always seems like the second the snow finally begins melting away, my dad is almost instantly out in the backyard rallying the troops of the neighbors, and he's ready to wage war. It's almost instantly him going to the shed, getting out the old lawnmower, along with every neighbor we have as they all instantly go over and mow it, followed by fertilizing it, and then setting up the new sprinkler systems. Every single year, I look outside my window when I wake up at 8 a.m., and I see that they're already out doing it. And little did I know this morning when I woke up at 5 a.m., I was surprised to see my dad wasn't already out there, but I did hear him getting ready. So luckily today, I got to miss out on all of that. It's clear that many fathers around the world and mothers take pride in their lawn, and this oftentimes leads to them overmanaging it, and oftentimes we can see the issues accompanied with this. So specifically when looking into backyard conservation, we don't just want to be watering it down. And today specifically, we'll look into 3 main areas as to where we as individuals can properly manage our own backyards. So first, we want to be looking into the factors of overwatering and overfertilizing your yard and how it can cause issues not only for your yard itself, but also for many marine ecosystems around the world. Second, we want to be looking into how you can give back to nature within your own yard. Until third and finally, we'll be looking into one of the best ways to manage your yard by starting your own garden. With that, we want to be looking into our first area of how overwatering and overfertilizing your own yard can cause mass issues. For starters, we want to look into the factor of overfertilizing it. Generally, all you need when it comes to fertilizing your yard is a light dosing over the top. However, many people see fertilizer almost as seeds, and they try to get as much of it as they can within the topsoil. However, Fraser, Michigan puts it where if excess fertilizer is applied to the soil, it can easily run off, whether it be a rainy storm or even just a little bit too much water in the sprinklers, then that causes this fertilizer to instantly run off into the streets and go right into the sewer systems. These sewer systems then take that fertilizer and wash it all the way into many local water sources that animals use for drinking. There's their own marine wildlife within the different ecosystems. And then also a lot of times these water treatment plants are required to go and get drinking water from it. So overall, when this fertilizer gets in there, not only does it contaminate the water, but it also opens up a whole new can of worms, and we have to deal with the consequences of what's now growing in the water. The EPA looks into these factors known as harmful algal blooms, where these different algal blooms are going to be sprouting within the water systems. And then, not only is it toxic to a lot of the animals that use it for drinking water, but it's also incredibly difficult to go through and properly clean these different systems. So to go through and get that water to be drinkable for humans and the animals, we need to avoid this over-fertilization at all costs. Because at the end of the day, we need to be protecting our own ecosystems whenever we can. This brings me into the second area that I want to be looking into, which is how we as individuals need to start giving back to nature in our own backyards. For instance, if we want to look into the factor of building a new home, the first step is always the same. You have to get the massive machinery and excavate the entire area of land to build a structurally sound house. However, the issues come shortly after, where individuals just completely rip out the grass that was native there and instead plant their own. Usually with different seedlings such as Kentucky bluegrass, we can see that many people are importing their grass from other regions rather than what's native there, which is just lowering the biodiversity of the once healthy ecosystem, now just introducing the exact same crop that requires far more water than other seeds that would have normally flourished under those conditions. However, not only is this a major issue, we can also look to the WTTW where they look into the factor of planting and regrowing trees from after excavation. There are 2 main factors as to why people don't go through these processes. For starters, we want to look into the factor of cost, and then we can also look into how many people don't simply want to manage a tree, because it can be a lot of hard work making sure that it's getting enough water and you're trimming it once it starts growing too large. So while we can't fix laziness, trust me, my mom has tried, it is abundantly clear that there are agencies out there that are going about and fixing the issue of price. For instance, we can look to the South Dakota Association of Conservation Districts, where they're going out and giving cheap trees native to a lot of the environments around South Dakota and other areas around the nation, and they're going out and giving these trees away for cheaper prices than you would find at like your local Menards. So this gives people that experience of planting and growing their own tree. For instance, my family has a row of evergreens that we have just planted within our backyard that we were able to get for a much cheaper price simply by just going to our various conservation districts. This brings me into my third and final area that we want to be looking into, which is the advantages of gardening, both for your yard and yourself. So not only does gardening introduce new plants and various types of animals to get a new food source, it simply allows you as an individual to grow as well. For instance, the South Dakota Department of Agriculture specifically looks into it where they go on agriculture on any scale, whether it be that of a full field or just simply one plot of gardening within your backyard is beneficial to the environment. It doesn't take much. However, then we can also look to Mayo Health Clinic systems where they look specifically into a lot of the benefits individuals get from gardening. You get physical benefits by working the fields and also just going in and gardening your own crops. You get mental benefits because it's a very relaxing activity and many people get a mental payoff when they see the fruits of their labor. Then finally, we can also see the various social benefits by working together with friends and family to watch these crops grow and just simply have a fun time together. So overall, it's abundantly clear that something as simple as starting your own garden can be one of the best solutions to properly managing your own backyard. So while I luckily got to miss out on the fun day of going through and mowing the entirety of the lawns, hopefully my dad was able to learn a bit from me this morning when I gave him my speech on how he can properly go about managing our own backyard. Hopefully he'll be able to cut back on the fertilizer and overwatering, go back and look at those trees we planted a few years ago when we first moved in, then finally, look back at the gardening that we have within our own backyard. Thank you.